This is Face the State with Rob Hanrahan and the political insiders Tony May and Charlie Giroux.
And the insiders are here. We have Representative Patty Kim as our guest. And Patty, I've got to turn over to Charlie, who was, I thought, going to walk into the shop there for a minute during the first block and ask you some questions about some of your ideas.
You know, here we go. This is all of our tax money. You know, the money that people work very hard to create, somehow flowing to state government because there's the thought that they spend it better. So let's see if we can get some facts on the table first of all. How much does the state currently spend on education?
That is the number one.
How much?
How much total? $27 billion.
$27 billion. And how much more do you think is necessary to provide that good education that you talk about? Isn't $27 billion, if well spent, more than enough?
I'm not asking for more. I'm asking for adequate funding.
You're asking for more. You're asking for a tax increase.
I'm asking, okay, that because it was lost in the past couple of years. I understand that there's controversy with that, but a lot of money was taken away from education. Ask the school board members, why are they raising taxes,
The federal government had phony stimulus money that every school district in the state knew was going to go away. We've rehashed this I don't know how many times. But if that's the canard that's going to be put up as the pretext for, again, asking hard-earning Pennsylvania taxpayers to send more of their money to Harrisburg because somehow their lives will be enriched by that, we understand. But let's go back to the minimum wage real quick. How many Pennsylvanians are actually on the minimum wage? What percentage of wage earners in Pennsylvania make the minimum wage?
About 725,000 people are on the minimum wage.
And of those, how many are full-time workers?
I do not know that.
Yeah, it's less than a quarter. And how many of those are actually, you suggested they were sustaining households or principally supporting households. How many of them are actually doing that?
I could say about 80% of them. Because
it's infinitesimal. The average minimum wage worker.
I think that number is wrong, Charlie.
The average minimum wage worker in Pennsylvania lives in a household making over $50,000 a year. A household income of over $50,000 a year. Many of them, a significant proportion, live in households making over $75,000 a year. The problem here, Representative, is that the minimum wage, when you boil it all away, is the penultimate law of unintended consequences coming true, where it actually hurts the people that it's designed to help.
No, it's not.
And it has consistently. Recent study out of Cornell University says that poverty rates have not been affected by the increases in the minimum wage over the course of the past 10 years. Is that totally off base?
Charlie, have you gone to a Walmart? Have you gone to any big box stores lately? I don't see teenagers behind the register anymore. I see mothers, I see grandmothers, and I talk to them. I want to know who I'm talking to, who I'm helping. A lot of those folks are the ones, the breadwinners there, and no matter how hard they work, they just cannot get by because all of the other prices have gone up.
Why not increase the minimum wage to $20 an hour? Because that's really where you want to take it.
You know what? I asked for 10 because if it falls through inflation, it would be about 1040 right now. I'm not just picking this number out of the air, Charlie.
But why not 20? If the argument is that these are people that have to support a household, why not make it 20 or 25?
Because we have to have this is the floor. If some people were not taking advantage of the minimum wage and paid more, then we wouldn't have this problem. And also, if it was tied to inflation, we wouldn't have to be going to this every 5, 6, 7 years because it's just not sustainable.
All right, Tony May is here, and I just want to note that the representative did not say any cuts to education. You didn't say cuts. You just said there's less money. And the argument
I'd like Charlie to bring us the source for this alleged data that he's been
I'd be happy to, Tony.
Well, that's good.
I'd be happy to.
Because it goes counter to the data from the U.S. Department of Labor and other sources that put 1 out of 8 minimum wage workers are under the age of 18. That people do support households, and that if we increase the minimum wage, we will reduce the demand for poverty services provided by government.
Tony, people under 18, generally speaking, are not supporting households. They're living at home with their parents.
But as I said, 1 in 8 is under the age of 18. 60% are over the age of 30, making the minimum wage. And they have to work 2 jobs.
They are not.
The part-timing is a canard.
Tony, they are not the primary breadwinners in the family. And here's the problem. The thing that the minimum wage works most against are the folks that
How many have to be the prime breadwinners in a family for you to care about them.
Tony,
10%, 20%? I mean, Charlie, you're making yourself out to be a Scrooge here.
I'm not making
and I don't
myself
let you
out
do
to be a
that.
Scrooge. And here's the problem. Those of you that believe that government does things better than the private sector understand very, very little about the way the economy actually works. If people could be allowed to negotiate for their wages and could be allowed to participate in the private sector with small businesses, the great job creators who are being crunched by the minimum wage, we'd all be a lot better off for it. But the minute that government begins to mandate how much people make, we're on a very slippery slope downhill. It doesn't work. It has hurt the people that it's designed to help. It has historically. You know, go to Milton Friedman, the Nobel laureate, that said that it was the worst piece of legislation that the country had ever passed.
Charlie, I'm trying to get government out of this. I'm trying to get government out of this in terms of not having the social services for these. Half of the people who make 1010 rely on public services. We are allowing multi-billion-dollar big box companies, we are subsidizing them because they're not paying their employees enough. I want to get government out of this and have the businesses, the private companies, pay their fair share so that we do not have to support them. I'd rather put this money in public education, Charlie.
Let me change the subject here to something which is still controversial, but not going to be in the financial category. Governor Wolf proposed or issued an order creating a moratorium on capital punishment in Pennsylvania. Is that something you support, thinking about your own constituency?
I do. I believe a lot of people in my district do not think that this is an airtight, foolproof justice system. I believe in the past that innocent people have died. It was years ago, decades ago, when DNA testing was not very popular. It wasn't used as frequently as it should. But all I believe Governor Wolf is doing is to say, hey, let's take a break. Let's reevaluate the process and make sure that it's a just process, and then we move forward. Do I feel for the victims and their family members who want to see justice happen? Absolutely. Very compassionate about them. But having a break while the people are still in prison, probably life without parole, not being executed at this point, is okay at this time.
All right,
so
quick question on that.
Do you
believe that the governor's moratorium is legal, and do you believe the courts will find it as well? Because, interestingly, it's an African-American Democrat from Philadelphia representing many of the same constituents that's bringing...
He's not going to be voting anyways, Charlie. Why do you even bring that up?
Well, because he's bringing a lawsuit against the governor on this very issue. I want to see, do you think it's going to be upheld?
I think it should.
Do you think it will?
I don't know. I don't know, Charlie. I can't predict that.
She doesn't have a crystal ball.
Well, I just wondered what you thought.
Well, we'll go to a different topic. Legalization of medical marijuana.
Yes,
been talked about. Do you think that can pass this year?
Senator Fomer has been the lead on that, and he's had some great success with just telling the stories of children who need it badly, who can help them in certain medical conditions. I think there's a good chance, at least in the Senate at this time.
Well, in the Senate, I was hoping you'd speak about the House. Whether you've talked to your colleagues or not, whether you...
That's going to be a bit harder, I think, to pass with the House at this point.
I want to talk a little bit about the dynamics that we left off in the first block with the Democratic governor, Republicans. You're talking a lot of bipartisan meetings that you've had.
Yes.
Is it much different of an atmosphere? Do you feel there will be cooperation? Because Charlie's side has the majority, and if they're totally against all these ideas that you have, there's a good chance they won't even make it to the governor.
I don't know him very well, but I like the Majority Leader, David Reed. I think he has... I love how he had a poverty study. He understands the issues. He understands some of the challenges. I think he is a very thoughtful leader, and I'm very hopeful with him in terms of leading us forward, at least on the Republican side. This year, this session is all going to be about give and take, give and take. The Republican can say, these are my non-negotiables. The governor can say, these are my non-negotiables. What can we compromise in the middle? You know, I'm probably oversimplifying this, but what can we, you know, can we compromise on pension reform? I think we can. I think that's something where we can all, because it's necessary and very, the situation's very dire at this point, but what can we compromise and do a give and take, give and take? Let the Republicans win some things, let the governor win on things, but it's just back and forth, give and take, and that is the only way that we're going to be moving. The taxpayers have very little appetite to see us fighting with a standstill, arguing nobody has that appetite. We need to push Pennsylvania forward, and I think that's something that we need to go on. Governor Wolf is doing a lot to make sure that we don't have that road rage effect. I feel like when you have a governor who is not active, who is not out of his office, you just start to look at him, you know, very negative thoughts and have that road rage where you're so angry. Wolf is walking around. He's so funny. He visited one of my colleagues like at 5 o'clock. The poor guy was tired. He was sleeping on his couch. The governor walks in, you know, it's like, hey, what's going on? You know, it's just having that relationship is so important so we don't have that you're evil, we're evil, you're evil, and where we go nowhere, because it just doesn't work.
Gridlock. All right. Representative Patty Kim, thanks a lot for being my guest on Face the State. I know you're in the hot seat there for a while. Charlie, good job. We'll be right back with John Misick.